December 14th, 2020, and the Carroll City Council meeting is now in session. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please note the attendance. Everyone, is Laverne going to be on or?
No.
No, okay. The first item on the agenda this evening is the consent agenda, which is approval of the minutes of the November 23rd meeting, approval of bills and claims. Under licenses and permits, we have the renewal of a Class C liquor license with Sunday Sales, Kirk's Bar and Grill. We have the appointment of the 2021 Fire Department officers. We also have a street maintenance building item with a change of architect of record. And finally, a change of the meeting from December 28th council to December 21st of 2020. Is there any discussion with regards to the consent agenda? If not, I'll look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second. There's a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, we'll go ahead and vote, please.
Base, yes. Haley,
Yes.
Fleshner,
Yes.
Cox,
Yes.
Seaman. Yes. Motion is approved.
Thank you. The next item is oral requests and communications from the audience for items not on the agenda. And if you are online, you'll have to unmute yourself, please. Nothing there. The next item is under ordinances. We have the rental housing code amendment. And Mike, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. At the council's last meeting, the council approved the third reading and also approved the final adoption of the rental housing code. It was noted during the second and third reading of the ordinance that there was a Scrivener error found in the text, specifically in section 158.07, paragraph 9E1 of the ordinance. The second sentence of that paragraph read, unenclosed floor and roof openings, opening and glass sides of landings and ramps, balconies or porches, which are more than 30 inches above grade or above the floor below, period. Obviously, that was not a complete sentence and really was attributed to an issue with comments we made back in March. And unfortunately, a few key words were left out. So the sentence should have read, unenclosed floors and roof openings, open and glass slides of the landing and ramps, and balconies or porches, which are more than 30 inches above grade or above floor below, shall be provided with a substantial and safe guardrail, period. So that does complete that sentence. So since we had completed the first reading of the ordinance when we found that error, we did proceed with the second and third readings as is, and then suggested and council did move forward with bringing a correction ordinance before, which we are doing this evening. This proposed ordinance makes that correction and does not make any other changes to the ordinance. So unless there's questions, staff would recommend mayor and council consider possible approval of an ordinance to amend the rental housing code for the city of Carroll. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the council has.
So we're just changing the wordings, all it was.
Yes, it does.
And what was supposed to be in there. Are there any other questions for Mike? So let's see, we'll need a motion to approve hold the first reading and then waive the second and third. And then for the amendment to the rental housing code for the city of Carroll.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. If there's no other discussion, we'll go ahead and vote, please.
So this is to waive all three readings?
All the way through, yeah.
Or
Except
approve
the first.
and waive the second, third. Okay, just to make sure. Okay, Fleshner,
Yes.
Haley,
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes.
Base, yes. Cox.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
And then I need a motion to adopt.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second. If there's no other discussion, We'll go ahead and vote, please.
Cots,
Yes.
Fleshner,
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes.
Haley,
Yes.
Base.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is under resolutions, and it's the 224 North Main Street property sale and redevelopment. It is 5:20 PM, and we'll open the public hearing. And I believe Mike.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. At your last council meeting, a resolution was passed that set a public hearing for the proposed sale of the city's interest in real estate to Roland Real Estate LLC for property at 224 North Main Street here in Carroll. Public notice of this was published pursuant to Iowa Code on December 4th, 2020 in the Carroll Times-Herald, which established tonight for the public hearing. Roland Real Estate LLC of Clive submitted the only bid for the purchase of the former City Hotel City Apartment site at 224 North Main Street. The bid price was $1,000, and the site is proposed to be redeveloped into a fourplex rental property. Information on the property sale was widely circulated by the city and was covered by local news media. And prior to the submittal deadline, 101 unique visitors did visit the city's website to view the RFP, a total of 111 times. It is proposed that the council waive the purchasing policy, the policy regarding the appraisal of real property prior to the sale, since the value of the property is minimal and bids were solicited by the city through a competitive process. I would also note that since the council meeting packet did go out, Mr. Rowland has provided an updated elevation drawing of the units, and he'll probably present those this evening. Additionally, since the November 23rd, 2020 meeting, staff did receive a number of comments. Two of these were highlighted in the staff report. Mr. Matt Wendell commented that while he did miss the deadline, he has a proposal for redevelopment of the site that is similar to the one that was proposed and would be interested in submitting a bid greater than $10,000. Ms. Peggy Bauman of 209 North Main Street commented that she was disappointed by the design presented by Roland Real Estate LLC and would prefer that the property be sold.
Hey, Mike, we're not able to hear you.
Yeah, the thing went,
What?
the thing said it was starting up again. And now it's checking for deployment.
Okay.
Who was that said that?
I'm not sure who said that. Is it powered back up, Laura?
It just went dead again.
Okay.
Oh, there's a green light down here.
Can you hear me if I'm speaking? Can anybody, whoever spoke last?
Can anyone hear us remotely?
You want to see what the chats are?
I see Tom. Tom unmuted a mic. Oh, that went back to mute. Randy or Dave, can you hear us?
No, we're not getting any audio here.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Of course, I wouldn't know.
I can't answer to.
No, we're not getting
Just give me a
any-
second. I'm going to call into the Zoom line and I'll be able to talk with them.
Can you hear me? Of course, I wouldn't know.
It seems like our system just wants to try to keep rebooting, Mike.
I can't answer to.
No, we're not getting
Give me
any
a second. I'm going to call into the Zoom line and I'll.
Now, Rachel said she could hear you.
Of course, I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I think they can. Everyone can hear us, but no one can hear us.
Okay.
I can't answer to. Now,
No,
Rachel
this
said
is
she
our
could hear
system.
We're getting some audio now.
Can you hear me now, Randy? This is Dr. Jensen. Randy, how about now?
I can hear you, but there's a lot of feedback.
Randy, how about now?
Now that's clear.
Now
Yes.
you can hear me speaking to you?
It's up now, the screen.
I can hear you, but there's a lot of feedback. Now that's clear.
Now you can hear me speaking to you? I just
Yes,
heard
Mr.
myself.
Mayor, this is Randy. I can hear.
It's
So there's a little bit of a delay.
Hello, everyone. We are experiencing just an audio issue in the council chambers. We are working on that right now. Please stand by for a few minutes. Thank you.
Any other time they seem to work okay in here.
We were experiencing some issues with our sound system
Oh,
earlier or late last week.
okay.
And we called tech support and we thought things were working just fine.
I shared the password with you there, Clay.
Thanks.
I don't know why it came to me.
I don't either. But thank you.
Just so you know, everyone on YouTube can hear what's going on in here. No one on Zoom can hear. So if
Oh.
you're saying stuff, people are going to hear you on
Okay,
YouTube.
okay. So they have to go to YouTube to listen. But with it being a public hearing, we gotta people be able to talk back.
Yeah,
You,
so he's working.
Laura, do you have times noted as to when we went down and thusly when we go back up?
Yeah,
That was about.
it's 5:28, so it was probably about 4 minutes ago, 5:24. Like, I think I opened the public hearing at 5:20.
It was early on, 2 minutes in.
So can people hear us now?
These screens just went blank.
Yeah, I started the system up and so I was grabbing the camera onto the podium.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask, I'm not sure where we cut off at. I was going through the public comments we received. Could Dave Bruner come on and just tell me where he possibly stopped hearing us?
Hi, Mike. This is Dave. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Council, can you
I
hear
can hear
me?
you, Dave.
I think the system maybe went down again.
Can we utilize a phone to
Mike, can you hear me?
audio?
I can hear you, Dave. I can hear you, Dave.
Can you? Okay. It was very early on, Mike, so I would suggest you just start over.
Okay, I will.
Okay, I will start over.
Laura, could you mute?
Thank you.
speakers?
The screen's not coming up.
Okay,
Okay,
so I'm going to start the
so I'm going
public
to start the public hearing.
At the council's
At the council's last meeting, a resolution was passed
setting a public
setting a public
hearing
hearing for the proposed city
sale of city
sale of city interest in the real estate to Roland Real Estate LLC. The public hearing was published pursuant to Iowa Code on December 4th, 2020 in the Carroll Times Herald and established December 14th, 2020 for the public hearing. Roland Real Estate LLC of Clive submitted the only bid for the purchase of the former City Hotel City Apartment site at 224 North Main Street. The bid price was $1,000 and the sale is proposed to redevelop a fourplex rental property. Information on the property sale was widely circulated and was covered by local media, and prior to the submittal deadline, 101 unique visitors went to the city's website to view the RFP information for a total of 111 times. It is proposed that the council waive the policy requiring an appraisal prior to the sale, since this property is of minimal value and bids were solicited by an open bid process by the city. Since the council meeting, Mr. Rowland has provided an updated elevation drawing of the unit, and I believe he'll review those this evening with the council. Since the meeting on November 23rd, the staff has received 4 comments. 2 of them were included in the staff report. First, Mr. Matt Wendell commented that while he did miss the deadline, he has a proposal to redevelop the site that is similar to the one presented this evening and would be interested in submitting a bid greater than $10,000. Mrs. Peggy Bauman of 209 North Main Street did comment that while she was disappointed with the design presented by Roland Real Estate LLC and would prefer that the property be sold to the neighborhood for the price of $1,000 remain open space as opposed to being redeveloped. Miss Amy Brown of 214 North Main Street did submit a comment that the pictures that were provided to the public in the council packet does not meet the look and feel of the neighborhood, and she requested the council have a final design of a new building that takes more of a look of the neighborhood. Finally, Mr. Kyle Bauer submitted comments. He provided assessor information on 3 lots similar to the Main Street lot and noted that the lowest price paid for those 3 lots was $17,000. Believes that this proves that the Main Street lot is worth more than $1,000. So the council this evening is advised to take public comment and may consider approval of resolution after the public hearing authorizing the sale of the real estate to Roland Real Estate LLC for $1,000. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the council has this evening.
Then we had opened the meeting already at 5:20, so it is open. I don't know if anybody else, and there was an email of
I'd
a
like to read a letter
picture.
submitted.
is the system back up, Laura?
Mhm.
Okay,
Oh, it says it's starting out, but it's been doing that. It like cycles through.
okay.
I heard somebody speaking. I don't.
Someone wants to read a letter, they said.
Oh,
Go ahead and
read your letter.
Okay, this is to our city council. This is Margaret Sidoris reading this for, on behalf of Jolene Honlos, who could not be here tonight. It says, to our city council, the people of Carroll are very upset with the way you spend our tax money. A company from out of town comes to Carroll and gives a nothing bid for a lot that was the city hotel. $1,000 for a lot that could bring at least 20 to 25,000. Then we're going to give them a $300,000 in tax credits so they can build apartments on the lot. I do not think this is a done deal according to the paper. There are people in Carroll that will pay a lot more for it, but I guess you'd rather give it our tax money to people out of town. There is talk that you also plan to do the same thing on other properties throughout that should be torn down. How much is our tax money going to go in that venture? It is time to start listening to the people of Carroll.
thank you. you got.
This is Kyle Bauer. I've got a few questions too on how the property was advertised for sale. Because I feel a lot of people did not know about it, especially your local landlords. I feel like a lot of the local landlords would be somebody that'd be interested in this property if they'd known about it. Clay and I talked earlier today. I feel that if this property was listed on the real estate market with a tax abatement, I feel it's a $25,000 to $30,000 property or more all day long.
I don't think this is.
And then a few questions that I have is if this sale does go through and this project is not completed in 18 months, is he going to lose that tax abatement? How long does he have to own this property? And then is this a Section 8 housing at all? And there was talk about another property acquired, which was acquired on September 22nd at 408 7th Street, which the paper, the Daily Times Herald, said that it's either going to be renovated or torn down. So what did the city pay for that property as well? And what is the net loss expected to be? Because right now, this is a $197,000 net loss. And you have a buyer that's willing to already give you over $10,000 for something. Yeah, it's not going to cover the whole debt load, but it's better than that $1,000. And it's a local buyer who's done a lot for our community. That's all I've got.
I can answer those questions. We did work with local media to widely advertise this. I know they ran a number of stories, both in the Carroll Times Herald, on Carroll Broadcasting, and I think we had really good information. And I think that's why you've seen that we had 101 individuals that did download the RFP for proposals on this project. As the local bidder the local comment that was received, we did specifically email it to Mr. Wendell, so he was well aware of this prior to the date of the bid. So we're not certain why he didn't bid, but he was made aware of it personally by myself. As for the tax abatement, I know there was an earlier comment made. It is not a $300,000 tax abatement. There will be a. I'm just going to walk out. For a second.
You're fine. I'm making out what you say.
The tax abatement would be a reduction, would reduce the value of the property by $300,000 or up to $300,000 for 5 years. That would be a total abatement or real estate abatement of probably in the range of about $15,000. So it's not $300,000 that was explained earlier. And, certainly the council has discretion on how to move forward at this point. I do see Mr. Rowland on. I don't know if he wants to come on and kind of talk a little bit about the elevations. I know some of the neighbors have some questions about that.
I've got one other question, Mike. When this property was acquired, what did you guys plan on selling it for? You had the mindset of redeveloping, which is good, and that definitely need to be torn down. But why wasn't there a minimum bid put on this?
It's a good question, Mr. Bauer, and I think ultimately a lot of times when cities acquire properties like this, there's just a lot of uncertainty about what appropriate value is. And so when the city council made the decision to put it, they didn't set a minimum because frankly, we want to see what the real market was for it. And that's the reason we did. I mean, I can't answer why we only received the one bid, but that's ultimately what we did receive. I would make one other comment. You had asked about the property on 7th Street. That was a nuisance property the city had been trying to get cleaned up for another number of years. And actually the city filed an action basically asking the courts to declare that an abandoned property. And ultimately there was no action taken by the property owners to answer any of the court documents that the city filed. They were properly served, and did receive notice that since they weren't responding, that a default judgment was going to be filed against them. And ultimately, since they did not answer that, the court did, by default, declare that an abandoned property. The city did receive that. Other than our legal expenses, there was no cost to the city in acquiring that property.
So how long does this guy have to own the property? If this sale goes through, how long does he have to own this? And is this open to Section 8 housing? Because I feel people in that neighborhood are going to want to know that.
So there is no minimum period of time that he would have to own this property. As for Section 8 housing or any other, there is no restriction. Section 8 housing can be put in any rental property. There's additional rental properties in this neighborhood. And so there could be Section 8 housing today in this neighborhood. I think it's the developer's intent to do market rate. That's what we've been told. But any rental property could actually have Section 8 housing in it.
Hey, Mike, it's Andy. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yep. So I would have just to kind of touch on that since that's where it was. No intentions of Section 8 housing. I've never done any of that. I can share here the updated front elevation because I know that has been a big concern of that. I will say the colors that are on the elevation are not, I don't feel they match themselves well. So the colors, would be, sorry, this just popped up on my thing to share the screen. Let me do this.
I think we got an email today of that. I did see a photo of it. Yeah. Do you have a copy of it, Mike?
It says I'm not able to share the screen. The host needs to enable screen sharing.
Try again, Andy.
Okay, yeah, here we go. Can you guys see that now?
Yes.
Okay, so as you can see there, we've got the offset, the north and south units sticking out 3 feet from the center units. Some little dormers over the 2 end front doors, and then kind of a roof that makes up that 3 foot offset, kind of create a front porch on here for the 2 center units. Like I said, the colors aren't accurately reflected, but would have a wainscoting along the bottom with siding above, some columns holding up these roof structures along the front of this to add some more depth to the structure. Happy to answer any questions anyone has. I know another thing that has been brought up to me is, local labor, things like that. Numbers are tight on these projects. I've got pretty specific costs marked out for each thing. More than willing to take proposals from different trades and things to see if they fit inside of my budget. I know, all my countertops come from the local Carroll company that I've been using for years. I hope to be able to use some more local businesses as part of the project. It is a project that I fully plan on holding on to, zero intentions of developing, leasing out, and selling. That's not my intentions. I know a lot of you are aware of the project I did in Jefferson, where we built 12 units, and those are all full, and we manage and maintain all those ourselves. As far as lawn and snow care, I'll be hiring a local company long-term for lawn and snow care. So any questions anyone has, I'm happy to answer.
You know, we had some questions from the public specifically on the design.
Right. And that, I think at the initial meeting we did, the rough sketches that we had seen, this one looks a little more appealing than what the other ones had looked.
And I did talk to some folks from the neighborhood today who had seen the updated elevations, and I think they still had some questions and some concerns, but I believe they're on the line.
Yeah, so this is Tom Bierman. Can you hear me?
Yes, Tom, I can hear you. Go ahead.
So we live across Main Street from the City Hotel and two houses south. And I just had some comments. You know, we all know that Main Street is the gateway to the south end of Carroll. The city does a great job in maintaining Main Street with the snow removal, the landscaping, the mowing of the median. The neighborhood has great stability, families living here 20, 30 years. Obviously, the city has invested heavily in the neighborhood by tearing down the City Hotel with the idea that it would improve the area and make it better. And I got to tell you, the neighborhood appreciates that. But now comes the next step. What do you do with the property, right? And that's what you're talking about tonight. And honestly, it would be great if it were a single-family dwelling, kids playing in the front yard, somebody wanted to live here for 20 or 30 years, a friendly dog to come meet you, and a home with great curb appeal. I know it's asking for a lot, but in the end, I think what the neighborhood wants is something with curb appeal, something that really fits into the neighborhood and makes the neighborhood nicer place. It would be great if it would improve the neighborhood. And so that's really what we're looking for. And it's hard for me to look at a rendering or to talk to somebody I don't know and understand how it fits into the neighborhood. Like you said, it might not be the right color or whatever. And all those details matter to this neighborhood. The height of the structure, how far back it's set. And I know those are in the drawing, but what it comes down to, it's really, in my mind, up to the city council to make something, to choose something that fits in the neighborhood and lifts up the neighborhood and not the other direction. A lot of money was spent. And again, we appreciate what you've done, but now the next step is to ensure it. And the rendering, I'm not for it or against it. I really have no feeling, are the materials quality? Is it going to fall apart in 5 years? Is it going to last 100 years? I don't know, but those are, I guess, decisions that we elect you to make, and we certainly put our faith in you and hope that you make the right decision here.
This is Peggy, and I guess I have a question for Mr. Rowland. When I looked at the original diagram, not the rendering that was put out this last weekend, but the original diagram that had the 20-foot setback, I wasn't real sure where that setback was coming from. Was that coming from the street or is that coming from the sidewalk?
So when that setback, that would probably have to come from the right-of-way, the 10-foot right-of-way.
The 10-foot driveway from where?
It would come from the sidewalk, essentially. It'd be measured from the property line. Generally, this varies, but generally the sidewalk and then in 1 foot is where the property line is. So that's where the setback would be measured from.
So I guess the question is then, is the setback 20 feet from the sidewalk? Is that correct?
Generally that, yes. It would be from the property line itself.
Okay.
Generally, that's from the sidewalk.
Okay.
That was Mr. Poggy Weaver answering the question, just.
Thank you, Mike.
This is Margaret again, and there's a group of us from the rec center. We just had a couple questions. One being, the city encourages local support to all the businesses and everything else. So I think there's a lot of people who are frustrated with how this is how it's been handled. in regards to the sale of this when you know that you've got somebody local willing to pay more and be more vested in the property. And then the next thing is, I don't think Mike ever answered the part of Kyle's question as far as future properties that are being looked at the city. And I think what the citizens of Carroll don't want is that the city continue to invest so much money in properties and continue to lose tax dollars and not get anything back out of it. I think that should be handled by real estate companies and let them try to sell it at a greater margin because they earn money on selling it for more. And most of us could not operate on how the city has handled this project.
Thank you. I guess I'd like to, for as much as we had put into that, I wouldn't mind seeing more money come from the sale of that. I guess that's one of the points that I keep looking back at on what we had to do to acquire it, what we had to do to demolish it. There's still that fair value of that work that the city did, the taxpayers put into it, that I think that there should be a little more equitable amount coming from that property. But that's my opinion.
Mr. Berner, this is Clay Haley. Could you tell us a little bit about what the council's options are here? I understand we can accept the bid that we have. We hear talk about there being another potential $10,000 plus buyer out there. Can we just go ahead and accept that money? What are our abilities?
Is he still on?
He just unmuted his
Okay.
mic. Dave, can you hear us?
Can't hear Dave.
He keeps muting and unmuting himself. So I'm not sure what's going on there.
I guess I would, probably just.
Mike, can you hear me?
There we go.
We can hear you now, Dave.
Okay. Clay, could you repeat your question, please?
Sure. I was just curious as to what the council's legal abilities are. We have a bid that came in through a bid process that we legally utilize. And no one here likes this $1,000 bid, okay? But that's the bid we got. And it was put in the proper channels in the proper way. So I'm curious now, with talk of there being a local person who would like to spend more than $10,000 for the property, can we as the council just go out and take his money? Do we have to go through a bid process again, I assume? I was curious if you could outline our options.
Yeah, I think regarding the hearing tonight, Clay, is the decision for the council is to accept or reject the proposal on the table. That would be the only decision tonight after this public hearing. What the council decides to do thereafter, let's presume council rejects the proposal on the table at this point. It would then become the council's option as to how they proceed further.
If that scenario went through, are we able to do as proposed and list with a real estate agent?
I think that would be an option. It would still have to proceed through this process that you've just went through with this proposal also, though.
Or RFP or bid process?
Can't believe this process.
I think we'd still have to have you'd have to have a public hearing on the sale of it. Yeah.
Certainly.
Right.
Okay, thank you very much, David.
You're welcome.
I would make one comment because I think it's also important. I mean, one of the things why we chose the process we did was one of the reasons was we did want to kind of control what was built in the neighborhood. I think one of the things the council was really was concerned about was architecturally what was going to be built in the neighborhood. And I think we were hopeful that through this RFP process, we were going to get multiple bids. And through that RFP process, price wasn't the only determination. I mean, we could have been presented a few different options, and one would have been more appealable, frankly, to the neighborhood than others. And that the council then could be in a position to say, you know, we want to respect with what's been built in the neighborhood and choose one that may have been a little bit lower sale price to the city. And so that's, to recall, that's one of the reasons when we put this RFP together and sent this out, why we chose the process. Now, we are faced with, we received one. Now, again, it's easy to come after the fact and say, hey, we will offer more than someone else. Well, we did a competitive RFP process. And in fact, the one person that spoke up and said publicly, hey, I'm willing to pay more and this is how much I'm willing to pay, they specifically were sent a RFP and they chose not to. Now, if you do go to a real estate model and decide to just go for the highest price, you know, you could end up with anything next to some of these homes. So you lose some of those aesthetic control. That's one of the reasons why the city chose this. I know there was a comment or a question made earlier, and really it's important to also, you know, this was kind of a kind of elephant in the community. I think for a long time, the city and the community looked at this property and really struggled with what to do. This wasn't one house that could be demolished. We were really looking at a property that was the size of probably 3 to 4 houses, that was 3 stories tall, was within feet of buildings both on the north and south side to it, so it was challenging. Was also a building that was full of asbestos because of the age that it was in. And not only did you have the typical asbestos that you've seen in pipe insulation and flooring, but we had advanced deterioration where in the basement, the insulation of the asbestos was actually in the soil. So soil had to be removed from the property, all while trying to keep it safe for the adjoining property owners. So we had asbestos also in the siding of the property. So the costs were very high, really because of the challenges this property presented. And, you know, we were asked by a couple individuals recently, well, why didn't the city try to sell the property as is versus demolishing? And if the council recalls, we actually went through a process after we acquired it and basically said we'd give you the property to tear down and rehab because we figured that that's the direction it needed to go. And we couldn't even get any takers just to give the property away. So this was a challenging property. I think as we look forward, I don't think there's another challenging property like this in the community. I know the council has one of its priorities that it wants to address some of these properties around the community. Well, there's no 3-story city hotel that's sitting in our community. I mean, they're going to be the size of single-family homes now, from what I can see right now. So I think this was just a challenging issue in itself. So I think those are some of the reasons, if you recall, why we ended up going the direction. You know, we had a lot of discussion at council on the RFP process and why we ultimately went that way, and the council wanted to go that way. And so there's challenges, and yeah, are we disappointed we only had one proposal? Absolutely. I wish we would have had 20 proposals. I wish we would have had 101, one from everyone that looked at this RFP, but unfortunately we didn't get that.
Can I chime in quickly? I only have a couple comments, and the first would be I'm as well disappointed that our only bid was for $1,000. I do think the property is probably worth more than that. However, you just said we could have easily given it away, and nobody wanted to do all that tear down and demolish and whatnot. So I get your point there. However, when this went out to bid, probably was not a super great time due to the weather. And I'm imagining that there's probability that several people that viewed that site didn't put in a bid on it because they probably were not going to be able to get it done in 18 months. Personally, I don't 100% care for the style of the building. That's just my personal opinion. I don't think it fits the neighborhood. I do know what Andy's trying to do, and I appreciate that. But I'm not 100% on board with that style. I prefer to see something with front porch, brick, something that looks like that neighborhood, so I understand where the neighbors are coming from. And so I don't know. My thoughts are that I would suggest that we wait on this. I don't think you're going to get any other builder that's going to get this done in 18 months, and that's probably why we didn't get anybody else to bid on it. But that's just me.
This is Amy Brown from 214 North Main Street.
Yes, go ahead, Amy.
Thank you, Mayor, and I just want to say thank you so much to the City Council for taking on this. I understand it was a very big financial burden. I obviously lived next to the City Hotel for 20 years. I am now trying to sell that property, but I'm still very concerned about what goes in next to that home. One of my concerns is, it's just like, I know that Mike and I kind of talked about possibly me being able to buy that property at one point in time. And I know that Tom and Peggy they would love for somebody to be able to buy that property and possibly, build a single family home. But Councilman Seaman, I totally agree with you. I am not on board with the design that has been suggested at this time. I would just ask for the council tonight to just take a little bit of pause on this. I really think that value of that property is much more. And it actually it's scary because my property value, according to other places, has dropped almost $40,000 by the City Hotel being taken down. So again, it's pretty hard to sell a property when my property value has decreased that amount. I love this community. I love this neighborhood. I just ask for the City Council to, let's take pride in what we put back there. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Amy.
Amy, I have a question. This is Jerry Fleshner. You said your property dropped $40,000. Are you still there?
Hey, Mike, it's Andy again. Am I right by that, still final design kind of needs to be presented? I think that was kind of something that was agreed upon, wasn't it? Once approved that, final design needs to be approved.
That's correct.
That's correct, Andy.
I think it's back up, Jerry, if you want to try asking a question.
Try to answer it, asking your question.
Amy, are you still there? Amy Brown, I know I can see you're still online. Can you log back in? Unmute yourself.
They are hearing you now.
Amy, are you still there? I can still see where she was talking before.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Yes.
Councilman Fleshner would like to ask you a question.
Amy, I just,
Okay.
the $40,000 that your property dropped in value, how did you determine that? Went
Basically,
down?
I had my property listed on Zillow, and it was listed for at least $135,000. And at this point in time, I'm approximately at $95,000 to $90,000 value.
So that's determined by Zillow, you're telling me?
Correct, and that's how I've listed it at this point in time.
Okay.
That's how my realtor at one point in time listed it also.
All right, thank you.
I would think with that being gone,
Would think so.
that would probably improve it, but maybe it's the
uncertainty
of what would be going in there. I don't know. I don't know enough about real estate to do it.
And I'm uncertain on how Zillow, I'm uncertain how Zillow could actually determine a price like that. I mean, they're not really, they're a national they probably don't even know that the building next door has been demolished. So I'm sure it's based on more national trends than it is really what's happening in Carroll, Iowa,
It can't be
or
local.
pinpointed on a specific site. But I don't know how the Zillow algorithms work.
Yeah, I don't either.
Well, I appreciate you guys having that concern, and I do have people that have shown interest in that home. But again, everybody's kind of waiting until the city council makes a decision on, what will be going into that property. And again, if we could, sell it and have someone build a single house, home there, that'd be great too. I'm totally on board with about, that. I don't know if that's a possibility or not.
Yeah, we can still hear you, Amy.
I'd like to make a comment. Andy, are you still there? That was Misty speaking earlier. This is Carolyn Seaman. And I think you have improved the curb appeal of the building, and it sounds like you're willing to work with us. I know when we talked, I asked you about the pillars in the front and a porch and so on. Just some nice amenities, and you seem very willing to work with us. And in the contract, under conditions, it sounds like you would still have time, if we approve this tonight, you would still have time to work, and it says with the city manager, under condition F of the contract, final design must be presented to and shall be approved by the city manager prior to the start of construction. Misty has some concerns. I have had concerns. I think you've improved this. Maybe there's some more room for improvement. But my concern is we've had 2 other apartment projects presented to us over the last 3 or 4 years, and people, financing became an issue for them. You have provided us a letter demonstrating that that is not going to be an issue, and we've needed some market rate apartments for quite a while. And I'm just thinking, do you have any more ideas for enhancing the look? For me, on the other side of Amy, to the south, are those gray apartments, and they look nice. They could use some paint, I would say. I think yours would, with the brickwork, etc. I think that they would look nice in this area. Given that the other apartment, I think, needs some work, I think maybe that would encourage maybe something to be done. But I don't see that these are, with a little more creativity, that these would be any less suitable to the neighborhood than the gray apartments right next door to the south of Amy. So my question is, would you be willing to work on, come up with some ideas? I don't have ideas. I think the post should be somewhat more substantial. I don't know if your drawing is totally accurate in what you intend to do, but would you be willing to work some more on this with us to come up with something that enhances the neighborhood?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, and that was why I asked the question of, that still needs to be approved by city manager. Yeah, I mean, I'm absolutely open to, I think as I said in the beginning, the colors of that drawing, I'm not happy with the colors of that drawing specifically. The final siding palette still needs to be decided upon, most definitely, and I'm definitely interested in working with whoever that needs to be to present the color palette before construction begins.
Right. I think fitting into the neighborhood with that color palette would be a plus. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no problems with that. You know, I mean, I can pretty easily study, what the surrounding palette colors are and come up with some choices that would accurately depict what's in the neighborhood.
Thank you.
One question I have, if we would move forward with this tonight, and if what we're asking becomes a bridge too far for Andy, what happens at that point?
That's where, that's a good question. That's kind of where I was. I mean, how far do you string them along until, the end of it?
I want to make sure I understand the question right, and Dave Bruner can also chime in, but your question is if the council approves this evening and the project never comes to fruition, what happens? And that's why ultimately we did the contract for deed. And so there are stipulations within that contract that Mr. Rowland would have to fulfill. And if he would not be able to fulfill it in the timeline or the design, or just couldn't get a final design approval, then ultimately the contract for deed would be extinguished by the council. And then that property would remain, even during contract for deed, the property would still remain in the title of the city. It's not until the property is completed that they would actually get a title on the property. So we did that specifically, and that's what a lot of cities do in these type of projects. It's not on similar.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, that does answer the question. And basically the premise of it was if Andy is not willing or not able to meet what it is we're looking for, what's the exit strategy for him and where does that leave us?
It's in the contract.
Andy, this is Councilman Haley. Could you tell us, and I want to say I did tour your properties in Jefferson and looked very nice. I'm curious, can you tell us about the construction materials and practices that you utilize and adhere to, please?
Yeah, I guess, materials, I mean, all exterior materials are, materials that are going to last a long time. I mean, for me, this project is something I plan on holding on to for a long time. So for me to use materials that last the longest is only for my best interest. I don't want to be replacing siding in 5 years or roof in 10 years. I want all quality materials because, 10 years from now, I don't want to be redoing the buildings again. They have 2x6 construction, so they're real energy efficient, try to keep the utilities low for people, maintenance free stuff, we use, LVT products in the bathrooms, in the kitchen, and carpet in the bedrooms, all things that, have a real long lifespan, quality materials, just because, I can't afford to be replacing the materials often. Does that help you a little bit, or you want to? I'd be happy to expand if you kind of got a follow-up question.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you very much. As I'd had conversations with some of the community, there were concerns about what they had called builder grade materials being used. Something that for me meant that there was a lower grade of material being used potentially to build a property, and not specifically by you, just as a general whole. So to hear that you plan to hang on to the property for a long time and that you intend to use good practices and good materials, yes, that's exactly what I needed to know. Thank you.
Yeah, like just for instance, like I do the architectural shingles, which are the 30-year shingles on the roof, not the, super builder grade 3-tab shingles that, look worn out in 10 years. This is a long-term play for me. No intentions of getting rid of these properties in the short term. This is something that I'm, here to stay and be the face of for a long time.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the public? You'll have to unmute yourself, please. Seeing or hearing none, it is 6:14 and we'll close the public hearing. I guess like I said, my only comment is, I'd like to have seen more from what we put into it. But how long do you wait until you try and do this again somewhere down the road? The drawing that I saw, I thought it was a lot more palatable. And when I go down that street, there's another block to the south, and on the west side, there's an apartment building kind of similar to that. It's pretty plain. This one looks a lot better on the outside from what I could see, but.
And in his proposal, he said the rent, he's anticipating $1,000 a month. People for that, I think they're going to expect, as Clay alluded to, quality, and
I think it's the restarting again, so they're not going to hear.
Well, the public hearing part's over at this point, so.
Well, we need to wait.
All right, I can do that. Oh, yeah, and you just said we lost sound again. So basically, even if this is approved, there's still some contingencies where it may not work too.
Okay, you should be back up.
So basically, this is, no, it's not going again?
I can tell when the mic moves. Test 1, 2.
That was your mic, and now mine is going.
Yep, we're good.
I can see it go up and down there. So if this is approved tonight, there's still going to be other contingencies where if it falls through, we still retain the rights to the property.
Correct. And just for the record, we know we lost audio. We did pause until the audio came back. So the council hasn't talked since we lost the audio. But
Are we confident of where we left off at?
Carolyn had just talked and she had pretty much finished her comments.
Okay.
Yeah, because she said the thing went down. Laura said the thing went down. So.
It's back up again.
Yeah, I can see the microphone going up and down. Are there any other comments from the council?
I would just like to say this has been just a little bit of a challenge for me, just from the standpoint. I wish we could have gotten more, but we did put out bids. We did receive legal bids.
We lost sound again. Okay.
So I can't call.
But the panel
I have
goes
sent
down.
a nasty grant to our AD company tonight.
You can use
So
my
if that
phone
would
to
go
call.
down, and let's say you called in through that and that goes down. It's just, yeah.
This is crazy.
And I really apologize.
Oh, now I can see it. Oh, I know.
Believe me, we worked on this last week because we knew we were having issues and we thought they were fixed.
Yeah.
Can the YouTube world can still hear us, but the Zoom world can't?
But Zoom's our official meeting, so we have to, and that's where all the public is. So Carroll Broadcasting can really have fun tomorrow with all these side comments we're having. You can tell me thank you on Thursday when we have our call, Chantel.
Can you shut the Zoom down and have them log back in? Will that refresh it at all? Does that have anything to do with that?
It's not anything to do with Zoom.
It's nothing to do with Zoom.
It's our system here at the council chambers that keeps crashing.
Seems to only do that when we're in a meeting. I hate to sound coincidental, but.
Otherwise, it's not being used.
Mike's giving me the evil eye, yeah. Does it restart?
It's working on it.
Oh.
Is it starting or?
It says checking for deployment.
Maybe we need to have one of those IT guys here when we're in here.
Mm-hmm.
so they can see what's actually happening.
Yeah.
Is it going now?
It's up
What?
and going,
It's
but
up and going. I'm still not seeing the microphone go up and down though.
It takes it like 30 seconds.
like connect.
No.
I can hear it tapping.
Nope, and the system's
Nope.
down again.
Just need to get through this part here and then it's closed after that. So.
If the system comes back up, Laura, kill the speakers in the council chambers. Of course, then we can't hear the public, but
You think that might be part of the problem?
no, I'm just
Throwing an idea out.
we can run it off my phone at that point.
Oh.
Well, let's do that.
Would it work for each of us to log in on our phones? Would it work for each of us to log in on our phones?
Well, there's too much feedback.
But if we kill, well, yeah.
Is it still rebooting?
Oh, no, it's freezing.
Maybe it's because it gets so cold in here.
It was warm, now it's cold. Technology.
Coming back up.
Chantel has promised only to play the downtime tomorrow. It'll be an hour-long special.
The camera lights are on, I think.
All morning like elevator music. We're happy to oblige you, Chantel. Is it doing anything? I mean, I can power down the system again and see if we can get it.
It's cycling through and it got to a point where it's trying to do the startup twice now.
It's doing it again.
What's that?
You can see it right there.
Yeah.
No, system's starting up again. Don't do that 3 times.
What if you just stop the video? Do we have to have video? And just went with audio?
I don't think you have to. But the audio is the issue. Well, I can't
Yeah.
get to.
But if maybe there's just too much.
Hopefully everyone can hear us.